So, okay. What do families do at home? Do they have game nights? Ooh, I like that question.
Ooh, actually, you want to go first or?
Sure. Yeah. I just from personal experience, we do have game nights in Hungary. So we actually, when I was studying abroad in Vienna last fall, I went home to my family in Hungary quite a bit, and we have a game there called Zsír, which literally means Greece, and it's a card game, and it's like super fun because Hungary has like its own set of cards. It's called like literally Hungarian cards, whereas it's not like the cards that we usually see here. But yeah, so we definitely play games. There's a lot more emphasis, I think, on like games over there than here. People don't really like watch TV as much. It's more so like you do more like family activities.
Yeah.
So, how about in India?
In India, yeah, definitely. It's kind of the same. Like people don't really watch TV that much. If they do, it'll be like for like a movie or like a special show that's coming on. Like they don't really watch TV as much as we do. We do we do play a lot of games at home. There's I don't know if you guys have heard of the board game Parcheesi. It's kind of popular here now too. That's originally like a game from India. It's kind of like the game, like I guess the game Sorry here, where you like move around the board and like try to get into the home base.
Or Trouble or something.
Or Trouble, something like that. It's kind of like that.
Sounds fun.
Also, there's a board game called, it's kind of a board game. It's Carom. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. It's a bunch of like little wooden like pucks, I guess. Like little, I guess it's like hockey, but with your fingers. It's like
yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. It's like a bunch of little wooden pucks in the center of the board, and you have like a striker puck, and you flick it across the board, and you try to hit all the pieces into the holes. I guess it's kind of like pool also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you try to there's holes on the corners of the boards, and you try to hit the pucks into the holes. And there's also a bunch of we play dice. Dice is pretty popular.
Yahtzee is a big deal in Hungary too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah, it's like dice, like kind of like gambling.
Yeah.
And card games. Yeah. Is India overpopulated? Yes. India is about 1/3 of the size of the U.S. It's so not that big. It's like maybe from here to about, I guess, like Ohio area. Okay. If you cut the U.S. in thirds like that. But it has 3 times the population, and it's still growing.
It's a lot of people.
So yeah, if China is the most populated country in the world, but India is second, and their experts are actually estimating that India's population is going to surpass China's or be greater than China's within the next 5 or 10 years. So it's growing really, really fast, and there's not a lot of space for everyone.
Should we do this one first, and then we'll go on?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to go first? So we have a question that says, can you say hello for us in both languages?
Well, in India, it depends on the religion, but the language you speak, because each state speaks its own language. And even within states, they speak multiple languages sometimes, so it really depends. But the national language of India is Hindi. So in Hindi, you say namaste to say hi.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So in Hungarian, so in Hungary, we speak Hungarian, which is kind of a lesser known language, I think. And it's pretty simple, actually, to say. Hungarian is a hard language. It's kind of agreed upon, but to say hello and actually goodbye as well, you would say see ya. So it's almost like we say see you or see ya, it's see ya, but a little faster. So
that's your hello and goodbye?
Yeah, so it depends who you're talking to. You wouldn't say see ya to a teacher or something more formal. You probably wouldn't say that. You would say jó napot, which is good day or something like that. Kind of in German, they have this informal, formal, distinguish. They distinguish between that. Okay, so we have a couple questions here about Christmas, and I guess that's probably because Christmas is coming up. Yeah. I'm getting excited for it, so I don't doubt other people are. So in India, do they celebrate Christmas?
Yes, actually they do celebrate Christmas. It's not as popular of a holiday just because there's I mean, there are a lot of Christians who live in India, but there's like mostly Hindus or even Muslims. Like Christianity is like the third most popular religion. So there's not a lot of Christians, but it's becoming more and more popular. Um, so yeah, I mean, and the major, I guess, denomination of Christianity is Catholicism, or like, there's a lot of Catholics in India, so they try to be very like they're very traditional Christians. They celebrate Christmas, but yeah, I guess we like have like a Christmas like parade almost in India. A lot of people give gifts regardless of what religion they're in or they believe in. So yeah.
Yeah. So we have Christmas as well in Hungary, but it's a little different. So here we, like in the US, people usually open their presents on Christmas Day, which is like the 25th. But in Hungary, it's actually usually on the 24th. And for a long time, and still now too, people wait a lot longer to get their Christmas tree than they do here. So like you would wait until like maybe even Christmas Eve to do it and decorate the tree, or like the 23rd, or, you know, really close to Christmas, because they usually keep it longer until like early January or so. So yeah, but there's a question here that said, do they have chocolate in Hungary? And they do. And I have to tell you guys, like, European chocolate is so good. So yeah, it's awesome. And let's see. So do we want to?
Let's see.
Oh, okay. And so just a disclaimer, we've gotten a couple of questions about if there are other, holidays in these countries. And the answer, I think, at least for Hungary, is yes. These are just some important holidays. So we definitely have, like different things. I mean, in Hungary, for instance, like Halloween is different. It's actually more so like All Saints Day, which is more so on November 1st, which is like not celebrating, but more like remembering those who have passed away. Whereas people don't really do like Halloween. Like that's really, I think, an American thing. And also Thanksgiving isn't celebrated either. That's like a really
Thanksgiving
American
is an
holiday.
American holiday, but because of the pilgrims, right?
Yeah.
But in India there are hundreds and hundreds of holidays. If you had like a day off for every holiday, you wouldn't ever go to school ever. So but these are one of like the three main holidays. There's also a lot of religious holidays that people celebrate. And obviously there's the New Year in India. It depends on the lunar calendar, so everyone has it, or like even within like North India versus South India, there's like different New Years that you celebrate. But my family celebrates New Year's, like India's New Year, in April instead of in January. And then we also have like Independence Day, which is in August, which is when when India got its independence from Great Britain. So yeah.
Okay, so there have been a couple of questions about sports in here, about like what are the most played sports in these countries, and what kind of things do they do. So would you like to answer that first? I guess.
Sports. Okay, so there's a few like very popular sports in India. We don't really play like basketball and football. They're like America. Like I feel like those are very popular sports in America. It's like basketball, football, and like swimming and gymnastics. Like those are not that popular there. But India does play a lot of soccer. It's one of the most popular sports in India. And also there's cricket. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it's kind of like our baseball here. There's like a guy who pitches, and then you like hit it with a bat, and you have to like run between bases, and so it's a lot like baseball. And that is actually a sport that is like is played like through Europe and in Australia and in India and like all like across Africa and stuff. Like it's a very popular sport in that side of the world.
Yeah, so in Hungary, like soccer is also a thing. I think so. I don't know if anyone watched. Was it the World Cup this year? No. Was it?
We have a World Cup every year, I think.
Every 4 years, but yeah, I think
every 4 years.
I think there was a World Cup this summer. I'm not sure exactly. There was some kind of big soccer thing, but Hungary hasn't really had a good soccer team since like the 1950s. So we didn't really, like it's not as big of a deal, I think, as in some other European countries, but people nonetheless like to watch soccer, just usually not their own team. So a lot of Spanish teams like Real Madrid and all that stuff, they are, definitely watched. But water polo here, in Hungary is like a big deal. Water polo is like the main sport, and it's something we're really good at. We have won a lot of Olympic gold medals for that. So that's definitely something that's like a thing. Okay, so we have a couple of questions. Hold on.
We have a lot of questions.
So someone asked, I like this one personally, someone asked if there's any special well-known dance moves from these countries. Ooh. I have to say in Hungary, I don't know. I don't think so. We do have like dances, like traditional like folk dances, and people will dress up in a special way, but I don't know if there's like a specific dance move.
Yeah.
How about in India?
In India, that's like a complicated question. Dance is very, very important to Indians, especially like traditionally, like girls are supposed to learn how to, like when they're being raised by their parents, they're supposed to learn how to like cook, dance, sing, and play instruments, and also be like well learned. Like they're like very well rounded. So dance is very important for like girls especially. But there's a few like very traditional dances, and I guess it depends on like, and also there's a holiday called Garba, which is basically a big dance party. People dance in circles, and there's like a special move that you just continuously repeat in the circle. So yeah, there's a lot of very well like known dances. Yeah,
that's cool. Okay, so we're having a couple questions about schools in these countries, which is like really a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is basically like what school I guess is like in those countries. Mm-hmm. Would you like to start, or should I say something first about Hungary?
I could talk about school. I mean, it's not very different from here, and at least in America, I don't think. For like from K through 12, there's 2 or 3 different kinds of school you can go to. There's like public school run by the government. There's private schools that like you have to pay for to go, and then there are like boarding schools are also like Catholic schools, which are kind of private, that you go to and you like actually live there and you board there. School is very competitive in India because there's so many kids and there's so many people that you have to be like incredibly competitive, and to get into college or to get a good job, like you have to try really, really hard. So, but other than that, it's very similar to here.
One person asked what kind of outfits girls wear in India.
Yeah.
If you wanted to show us something.
Yeah.
Sure. You want to talk about school first?
Yeah. So just real quickly. So school in Hungary is pretty interesting. I will say like people certainly like they start learning languages probably earlier than we do. So English is usually learned, or German or something, because Hungary is like a landlocked country and not too many people outside of Hungary speak Hungarian. So, there's definitely like a need to learn a different language. It's not like, I guess growing up here where most people around the world, I mean, you can usually find someone regardless of where you go, I think, who speaks English. So that's definitely more emphasized. And I will say that like in high school, people in Hungary usually have like 3 options. One is to do like a more vocational high school, like if they want to go to be, like a salesperson or like a clerk or something. The second would be more of like what's called gymnasium, which is like here, more so like a normal high school. It's kind of like a college prep school. So there's like this difference after middle school into, where you're going to go. And that determines kind of your career, which is pretty interesting because it's, you're pretty young. I mean, I know for me, when I was in middle school, I wanted to be a writer, and that changed while I was in high school to like poli-sci or political science and, like European studies. So, I don't know how effective it is if, with that, but yeah. So we have a question about what kind of outfits girls wear in India, and Sneha actually has some examples.
I actually have a few examples. Most girls wear Well, now it's starting to change. People are becoming more westernized, or like more American, more European. So like jeans and like a shirt are becoming more popular. But also, like, traditionally girls will wear like a skirt and a blouse, and like young girls will wear like a skirt and a blouse, which I have like an example of here. Just like yeah, this is like, here's like a skirt that, like, this is for like a little, like, probably like a 5-year-old, but like a little skirt, and it's like decorated on the bottom. Usually this is like gold thread. It depends on the fabric, but sometimes they actually use like thread made of actual gold, and they embroider this because gold is very, very important in India, and India has a lot of gold, so they can like afford to put gold in their clothes.
Yeah.
And then I guess you want to hold it up, yeah. And then this is like the blouse that will go on top. It's very embroidered. Sometimes they have like bells attached to the like bottoms, or like even on the bottom of the skirt they'll have bells. And sometimes they'll have like little mirrors embroidered on, and it's like very like, I guess, very gaudy, very embroidered. And then as you grow up, like when you become like a teenager, you'll still wear the long skirt, but then this blouse will get cut in half and it'll be like a belly shirt. And then you'll have like a long like scarf that you'll like, or like, yeah, kind of like a sash that you like hook into your skirt and like wear around. And it's supposed to look like a sari. And then when you like become like a woman or get married, you actually wear a sari for the rest of your like life. So yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Someone earlier asked about social status in India. Would you like to, like, class status? Would you like to comment on that?
Sure. Class status is, it's pretty important in India. Traditionally, I mean, this has just been outlawed in the like past few decades, but there's been a caste system in India, which is like, there have been like 4 main castes. There's like the Brahmins, and then there's the Kshatriyas, and then there's like the lower castes people. So the Brahmins were like supposed to be the learned, like they go to college, they go to school, and they like spend all their time like educating themselves, and so they were supposed to be very wise, and they were like upper class because of that. And so they're also like very, I guess, they weren't very like rich necessarily. It was more about like what they can offer the world as like being wise and being like people would go to Brahmins to ask for advice all the time and stuff like that. And then the next caste would be like the Kshatriyas, which are like the kings and the warriors and like the soldiers, and they were like the political system. They would like protect the people and like govern the land and all that. They would be in charge of like more of like in charge of money and stuff like that. And then there was like under them was the merchant class, who would like clearly like they would like buy and sell goods, like they would make things, they would like run the economy. And then there was the lower castes, which were like the servants, who would like clean, they would cook, they would like take care of children, like they were like the servants basically. But that was outlawed in the past, like I think in the past like 50 to 100 years it was been outlawed. But so like legally you're not supposed to follow that. You're not supposed to like show like preference for one or the other, but it like kind of seeps through anyways, just through tradition or through family lines. Like people of one caste were not supposed to marry people of the other caste, so that's still like kind of followed. And it's like taking its time to get out of the minds of people, but it's getting there.
So we have a couple questions about food. And so I think that's always a fun topic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so food, I guess, is definitely culturally significant in Hungary. Lunchtime is definitely the biggest meal of the day. So it's kind of like what dinner is here. So for instance, traditional Hungarian lunch, you always have soup beforehand, which it can be like a small portion or like a big portion, but it's usually like a bowl of soup, and then you have your entree. And so you eat quite a bit of food for lunch. It's kind of supposed to get you through the day. And then for dinner, like you maybe have some fruit or like a small sandwich, and breakfast isn't super big either. So like lunch is like the big meal of the day, but they have a strong emphasis on like they like to use like fresh foods, things that you can get like naturally. So like for instance, a lot of people, including like my family, they go out to the forest and they'll pick mushrooms. People have a better, I think, knowledge over there about like what is edible, what's not in nature. And so they usually use kind of these more like earthy ingredients, literally. And yeah, so I don't know, I'm trying to think. So in Hungary, like there's a lot of meat dishes. And who here has heard of paprika or paprika? Anyone?
Yeah.
Is a spice? Yeah. So that's like a really big Hungarian export. That's something we are known for and known for in our cooking. So it makes the food, even if a little bit of it is used, you know, pretty tasty, pretty spicy. So it's really yummy and used with a lot of like meat dishes. And we also have a lot of like, you know, we also have a lot of desserts and all kinds of stuff. I mean, like, I don't even know how to say, a lot of pastries, a lot of different things. So like we have like our own versions of crepes too, but instead of being kind of folded over like the French way, they're rolled up kind of like a burrito, but they're super good. And crepes can be eaten for like as a meal as well. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah. How about in India? Because India has some good food too.
Yeah. Actually we have something similar. We have like our own version of crepes that's also rolled up, and we like put like vegetables inside, mostly potatoes.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's really good. But in India, food is very important. I guess food is important everywhere. But India's food is like, I feel like when I describe it is, I always say that there's like, it's very extreme. There's a lot of spices from that like Indians use. They use like turmeric, they use like peppers, they use cloves, and like all sorts, like mustard. They use all sorts of things in their like regular cooking. So it's like very, very rich, very like
strong flavors.
Strong flavors.
Hungarian
And it's like very spicy. They like to use like chili peppers like everywhere. So it's like, it's either like very rich, very spicy in that way, or like for their sweets or their desserts will be very, very sweet. Like if you think of how much sugar, they like probably put like cups of sugar in, like it's so sweet, and it's so like they use like cream of milk and like really thick things to make these sweet. So like everything is very rich. And so yeah, when you go to India, make sure you have an empty stomach.
Okay. I think we'll answer a couple more questions just because we're getting kind of low on time.
Yeah.
But there's a question about currency. So in Hungary, we actually, although we're located in Europe and a lot of Europe, especially in the EU, because Hungary is a member of the European Union as well, there are quite a few countries in the European Union who are a part of the Eurozone who use the euro, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. But Hungary actually uses their own currency still, and it's called the Hungarian forint. It's not valued as high as the euro, but it's definitely, I think, a way of showing kind of that national sovereignty and holding on to, you know, like their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
I
know what the conversion is.
Yeah, so I think it's like $1 is like 300 forint, but the reason is it's not like, you know, 300 US dollars. So it's not like a lot of money, because like something like, you know, like a thing of fruit or something would be like 600 forint. So it's pretty like reasonable, similar, but they just use like a lot more for some reason. So like someone can have like 10,000 forints and it's really only like, I don't know, like $50 or something like that, $40. So it's interesting, right? See that. How about in India? What do they use?
In India, we use the rupee, which is, I think it's about 60 to 70 rupee per US dollar. Mm-hmm. But it's like similar to like Hungary, like you can't really buy anything with 1 rupee. Like you would have to have at least like 100 rupees to like buy something like that's worth like $1 here, you know, like it's pretty like the value of things is about the same as here in America, but it's just there's a lot more rupees
Mm-hmm.
in that. Yeah.
Okay. And then
There's a question about parents deciding who you marry.
that's a good one.
Ooh, okay. Well,
So parents, yeah.
yeah. So we have a question about if parents still decide who you should marry. I'm guessing that's for India.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So that's arranged marriages is still a very big thing in India. I mean, my parents had an arranged marriage, and I don't know about myself, but right now I'm not I'm not gonna engage anyone, so I'm still free. um, but arranged marriages is still very popular. It's like a tradition that you can't. There's like if you go against it, it's kind of a big thing. Love marriages or like falling in love and getting married is starting to become more popular. Starting to become more accepted. But in the past, like even in the past like 20 years, like falling in love and getting married has been like almost like rebelling against your family. Because you did not ask for your like parents'
Consent, I guess.
like you didn't ask for consent from your family, you didn't ask for consent from their family,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no like mutual understanding. Before, arranged marriages had a lot to do with like I said, like caste system, like social status, and even like education. Like they try to like the parents would like try to match you up with someone who was like of like who would be able to like take care of each other and would have the same like education level and the same like I guess like background, so that they could like be compatible with each other in the future. But now love marriages are becoming more popular, and it's kind of upsetting the whole status quo. But
I'm sure. Okay, well, let's see.
There's another question about like, do you have a separate class for English? What kind of different languages do you learn? And what are some of the other different languages in India?
Okay,
A couple of
well,
questions.
Okay, yeah, we have just a couple more.
Yeah.
So I guess what languages, like what language school is taught in? In Hungary, it's mainly Hungarian, but there are a lot of choices of different languages you can learn. Like obviously, like English, there's French, German, Russian. I mean, basically any like popular not Hungarian, European language. Spanish, I will say, is not like as big of a deal there as it is here, which is kind of the big difference. And Hungarian is primarily spoken. More of the young people in Hungary know how to speak English than the older generation, which makes sense. The older generation, I mean, under the Iron Curtain Soviet Union, you had to learn Russian. So my mom, like, she had to learn Russian for like 8 years or so. And then she could choose, in addition, she could choose if she wanted to take on another language, and she ended up choosing English, which worked out well for her as she got a job at the U.S. Embassy in Budapest. So yeah, but I would say that there's really only Hungarian as like the state language, but people kind of know that if they want to have any kind of career or life outside of Hungary, they have to learn something else.
Yeah.
How about in India?
Language in India is very, like I said, it's very regional. Every state has its own language. So like my family is from a state down south called Tamil Nadu, so we speak Tamil. But like literally the state like right next to it, like let's say like North Carolina versus like Virginia, in that sense, like the state right next to it is Andhra Pradesh, and they speak a completely different language called Telugu. And then like the state next to that speaks a completely different language called Kannada. Like it's all very different, and like the script is also different. Like the way you write is very different. So you can't read or write or like understand each other like speaking wise either. So and that's very common in the south of India, especially because each like those like states try to be they're very like they're not very like they don't have very like national sense in
like an identity.
Yeah, like an identity. They have like more like state identity. So they're very like
independent, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they like try to teach the language of their state. And I know like even in the past, like when my mom was in school, she tried to learn Hindi, which is the national language, and it's spoken in the north. North India is mostly Hindi. There's a few other languages, but like majority of people in the north speak Hindi, and then south is like very different. So my mom decided to try to learn Hindi in school because she just wanted to like learn another language, and that was one of the ones offered. But like there was like a whole a revolt during her like middle school time, where like people, like if you spoke Hindi, or if stores had Hindi like in their windows or something, like rocks would be thrown at those people or those stores. Like they have very like state identity versus national identity. But yeah, you are like, most people learn English because like English has become like the international language now. So if you want to like be involved in anything, like in anything like in the international economy at all, then you should learn English. And also like you can learn Sanskrit, which is like our Latin, or like I guess English is Latin, is like Hindi Sanskrit. It's like the mother language. It's very, very old. It's dead. It doesn't like, people don't speak it anymore. It's a dead language, but you can learn it. Yeah.
Makes sense.
There's two other quick questions, or we can wrap it up. One was, are there a lot of gypsies in Hungary? And the other one was about what kind of technology do you have?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess we have time for a couple more questions. So in Hungary, this question is about basically, are there a lot of gypsies in Hungary? And that's a pretty common idea about Hungary, that like a lot of people are gypsies, and that's pretty false. I would say the Roma people in Europe are kind of known as the gypsy group, but they're not, like, Hungary wasn't founded by them. They were founded by the Magyars, which came from kind of like Central Asia. And so it's actually, unfortunately, so the Roma people in Europe are kind of looked down upon and discriminated against. So if you tell someone like a Hungarian, like if you're like, have just met them, you ask them if like they're a gypsy, then they get pretty mad. I will say, because this is something I used to think actually when I was younger, and like my family was like really angry with me. So it was almost like an insult. So no, I mean, there is a pretty sizable like Roma population, but the Hungarian people don't really view them as like a part of like Hungary, or like a part of the Hungarian nation, which is, problematic in some ways, but it's just kind of the historical divide.
Yeah.
And then we also have a question about like technology. Mm-hmm. So I would say that in Hungary, it's all modernized. Something is different is that like there's not as much air conditioning in Hungary, and I think in mainly like in a lot of European countries, because it usually doesn't get as hot there. Although I think that's changing. And so, yeah, so everything's pretty modernized. You can, you have phones, you have computers, etc. But I will say that in Hungary, at least Apple is not really that big of a thing. Yeah. So like you have more of like Android or like Samsung phones and things like that. They have different, companies, like Telecom would be like a phone company rather than, Verizon or something like that. So
yeah.
How about in India?
In India, I guess it's very like, it's pretty modernized. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard of like the stereotype of like IT jobs in India or like engineering in India, but yeah, a lot of people go to college to become engineers or to become doctors, so they like learn a lot about like the new technology, and like it's India is developing very, very quickly, so the cities are very like high tech, but like, I mean, like in any place, like if you go to the rural towns, like they might not have electricity, they might not have like running water. I think that's becoming more popular as running water, but like they still like go to the well and get water. But in the cities, yeah, it's very high tech, computers. Like everyone has a cell phone.
I will say something real quick about in Hungary, and I think in Europe in general, it's like public transportation is like more important there. I don't know what it's like in India, but like people, definitely. Use like the trains or the trams or the bus system a lot more than we do here, at least in North Carolina. So it's much more developed, I think. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, everyone in India can't have a car because then you're being like constant deadlock all the time.
Constant traffic.
Yeah.
That's scary.
And we already have constant traffic. So
yeah, you already have it. Well, yeah, I think Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to us. We really enjoyed this. And I guess just the main message of our presentation is that, holidays and like the purpose behind holidays, they can overlap. Some countries have holidays that have like a similar founding or basis as others, but they are usually kind of uniquely their own, like the state, the country makes it their own, which is pretty interesting and cool to see.
Yeah.
But it's also cool to see that they have a lot of similarities. But yeah, we really enjoyed talking to you guys, or I guess answering your questions. It's always fun to hear. And I really appreciate you guys, being here with us and being interested in this kind of stuff.
And asking such great questions.
Yeah. Because like, I know for me, like when I was growing up and stuff, we didn't really have these kinds of opportunities. And I think it's really cool that, you guys have access to that. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good rest